power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
Okay, it's 17 minutes past 9 a.m. and you are listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Welcome to the Polity Tuesday edition, 17th day of February 2026. What we do on the Polity is that we bring you headlines from various newspapers, majorly 4 newspapers, and then take analysis on major developments. My name is Franklin Libican saying welcome to today's program. You can join us live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Get interactive on that very page. The video is already up. You can share your thoughts on the issues as we go on this very conversation. You can as well check our YouTube channel and Instagram handle, Udala Radio. You can as well visit our website to get information, get to know about the OAPs and about Udala Radio, and as well you can listen via the website www.radioudala.com. Check that very website for the information you need. If you also want to know the location of the radio in Onitsha, it's available on that very website. So all these platforms are for you to have constant communication with Udala Radio. And this very morning, we have exciting stories to look at, because if you look at the papers, you will see some interesting stories. One is about the confirmation of the presence of a U.S. troops in Nigeria. As we speak, 100 of them have arrived in Nigeria for help in counter-terrorism issues. Then the National Assembly is eyeing a new date for presidential election. In fact, the Assembly is going to reconvene today from their recess, because they want to look at the issues emanating from the date for 2027 general election, which was announced by INEC last week. Also in the news is the fact that former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, he slept in the EFCC headquarters yesterday. Yesterday, he went to respond to invitation extended to him by the EFCC. And guess what? That yesterday, when he was going to EFCC's office, there were 2 protests yesterday. One was for El-Rufai, one for against El-Rufai. And guess what? EFCC has to use or had to use tear gas, to disperse those who were protesting. So that was the way we saw it yesterday. Regarding El-Rufai answering or responding to the invitation extended to him by the EFCC. That same yesterday, federal government filed a charge against him in connection to the fact that he claimed that they wiretapped the phone of NSA Nuhu Bade. Then in the news too is the fact that the National Assembly Conference Committee has suspended electoral bill harmonization. They said for now, let's focus on one. Deal with the issues emanating from the 2027 general election date before talking about harmonization of the electoral bill. These are some of the things you are going to find in the paper this very morning. Then there's one other story in the paper, so you can see that on Nigerian Tribune, where Anambra students under the aegis of National Association of Nigerian Students, Southeast Zone, they have declared that they are going to contribute money to purchase the expression of nomination form for Mr. President for him to contest for 2020, for him to contest for second term in 2027. They are saying that they are going to mobilize over 20,000 youth and students for his second term endorsement rally. And the reason is that the president has impacted their lives by the virtue of the introduction of NEL Fund, which has helped many Nigerian students to further their education, even in the midst of lack. Then the other stories you might also want to check out on these very papers. But for now, these are just the teasers. So by the time we begin to look at the headlines, you will now get to know some other developments that are captured in these very papers. And this very morning, I'm not alone. The usual suspect, Tony Disambeki. Good morning. Thank you for joining.
Good morning to you, Franklin Chukwebuka. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, in the Anambra. Good morning, in the Onitsha, Donidu. Good morning, in Dosumo. Good morning, in the Afia, in the Oluaka, in the Oroyibo. Everyone, we appreciate, we acknowledge you, and we thank God Almighty for His mercy, for His love, for His kindness, as we prepare for tomorrow's Ash Wednesday. And we also thank Him for all He has been doing in our lives, for making everything possible before us. You're welcome. And today, remember, is 17th day of April in the month of February. And then we are happy that we are here. Let's quickly do this and then look at different developing stories around Nigeria and beyond.
Okay. Before we get to the headlines this very morning, so Tony, the story about the apprentice that murdered his boss is still trending. In fact, I don't know on Ilon but that very development, because it's hard to comprehend what actually happened, because he didn't just attack the boss alone, he also attacked sister to the boss, and it's quite a sad story.
Very sad.
Yes,
very sad. The only thing I suspect in all of this is drug at work. From the stories narrated, the young lad, about 18 years, he has been with the master for 3 good years. And people are trying to say it could have been this, it could have been that. That the approach that the master, I've read comments where some people are saying the approach the master may had taken couldn't have been the best. The truth remains, the young lad was under the influence of drug, and when you're under the influence of drug, you have poor judgment of anything, and you feel on top of everyone around you. It is very disturbing when we say let's protect or save the society. Most crimes committed is as a result of drug. Some of these hard substance, you call them Ulumili, you call them all manner of names, cloud or loud. There are different names they wear. The small boy, it's better we go back and learn quite a lot of things from this incident. If you go to secondary school, some villages, some places, young boys at age of 16, this boy is just 18. Young boys as early as 15, sometimes 14, they have started taking hard substances. And with these, they can do and undo. You can imagine, after attacking the man where he used pistol on him, he went after the wife. So it is disturbing. And if you look at the young man, even when he was apprehended or arrested with handcuffs, he was not remorseful in any form. That is drug at work. One thing is, he has got a threat, probably had poor upbringing. There's no doubt about it. These days, I have always maintained that we must teach the young ones respect. Social media has made them feel that they are equal with everybody. Everybody can be on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, and exchange banters. Even here, when we talk, there are people that we even talk down on you as if you are their mate. We are from Africa. Africa is known for culture, and in our culture, there is respect has a place in our culture. You can't tell me anything outside this. There are people that will tell you that respect is earned. It is customary. Forget about respect being earned. Until somebody rob himself off any form of respect, it becomes a different game. It is customary for you to show your elder respect. Listen to him, not just somebody who is your guardian or your parents, your elder. You must show your elder respect. Anybody who is older than you deserves respect from you. That is our culture. It's part of our heritage. People of newer generations, the Gen Zs, the Gen Alpha, whatever name you call them, based on generation classification, we are not teaching them this. We are not teaching them this. And at times, with the influence of westernization, let me say this: Western world has influence on us through these social apps. Yes, they have influence on us. So my concern is, drug played almost 80% role. Poor upbringing completed the cycle.
Okay, so let me add, because I think that the police has to do a thorough job here, because the stories or the accounts of what happened that I have listened to, I've seen some holes in most of the accounts. So if the police is going to do a thorough job to know whether there was any other person that conspired with the guy in carrying out that very act that he did, because for somebody to have, used a pencil on the boss, hit him not only once, and they left him there in the kitchen, went after the sister who was lying somewhere in a room, and I also learned that, first of all, he had to go and lock the man's wife in a room before attacking the deceased man's sister. So a lot needs to be done. Do thorough investigation, find out if there was any collaborator or he just acted alone, so that they can get to the root of what happened in that very incident. Now, I don't know if you saw what happened yesterday at the Senate, because there was another drama between Senator Natasha Boti and the Senate Committee on North Central Development Commission. She was protesting alleged exclusion from the committee, saying that she's from the North Central, and how can this committee on North Central be sitting on something very important to her constituent, and she wasn't even invited, and her name wasn't even in the list, and what have you. I don't know if you saw that very drama.
I saw the drama. The woman is becoming dramatic. I know National Assembly as a place where you lobby. I don't know National Assembly as a place where you play activism or you protest. If you go to National Assembly to play activism or protestation, most times you may not get what you want. At times you may get, most times you may not get. But when you go to National Assembly and play the game of lobby, that's the language. Most times you get everything. The woman is not deploying lobby as the technique to get most of the things she wants. Rather, she is deploying activism and protestations. And look at the difference. Activism will give you 30% of what you desire. Lobbying will give you 100%. There are times you protest, there are times you show that you're an activist. You may be considered, but in most cases, about 30%. But when you deploy lobby, 100%, you get whatever you want. The idea is to ensure that your constituents are well represented and they get everything that should be accruable to them. And I look around. If you look at the incident, she was not invited. She was not even, I don't even know if she's a member of the committee.
Because that's what I want us to find out, because I followed this very incident. I was trying to ask so many questions. One is this: by virtue of being from North Central, are you automatically a member of the committee, or there are members of the committee? That's number one. Then number two is the fact, was she a member and at some point in time her name disappeared? Because when I watched that very thing, I was lost at what was actually happening, because I know that in Senate, committees are formed and people are assigned to different committees, not basically because of where you are coming from, but because where I think that you have competence to deliver something to that very committee. So as it stands now, I haven't been able to establish whether every senator from North Central is a member of that very committee, or whether she was a member of the committee and at a point in time her name disappeared. Because from what she said yesterday, she said she queried to know what actually happened, and she was told that an order from above demanded that she shouldn't be part of the committee.
Well, from the list I have, from the list I have, because we are looking at the members of the North Central Development Commission, we have the members. Just like, let me clear this first before I look at the list I have here. If you are from North Central, it does not confer automatic membership on you. It does not. We must have that settled or sorted out. We know very well that North Central has 6 states. And that 6, if you multiply it by 3, it means that they have 18 senators. There will never be a time 18 senators from the North Central will be a member of that very committee. And if you look at the people involved, I'm also curious to find out why she has been, for one reason or the other, catching the eyes of many who are interested in drama. I'm actually trying to see what transpired, because if you look at that very video clip, it was situations where she went into the chairman's office, she sat down, and those who are members of the staff to the chairman prevented her from having entrance. But just like I said earlier on, the chairman of that very committee is Senator Titus Tentega. That is the chairman of that very committee. The vice chairman is Senator Issa Jubrin. And if you look at the full list of committee members I have here, let me quickly go through the full list. Titus Tentega, ZAM chairman, Issa Jubrin, vice chairman, Ashere Oyelula Issa, member, Muhammad Sani Musa, member, Ireti Hiba Kingibe, member, Sunday Steve Karim, member, Diket Sasso Plank, member, Onowo Muhammad Ogocha. So if you go through these lists, her name is not there. I didn't even list all others. Her name is not there. So what that means is that she is not a member of the committee, because she alleged exclusion, marginalization from his activities despite being from North Central. She did not, in that very video, indicate that as a member of the committee. She didn't say that. She was saying that she was excluded. How can you not be excluded if you're not a member of a committee? But despite not being a member of the committee, if she had wanted to make an impute, it's by lobbying. If she had wanted to be a member of the committee, it's by lobbying. I've said it many times here. Lobbying is the tool. Activism is never the tool. But she does not want to hear this. You may have the people behind you, but to get what you want is a case of deploying the right approach. And the right approach here for me is lobby, not activism. The other time she had a drama with the Senate Committee chairman on Steel and Ordered, Ndubeze from Okigwe Zone, even when that one has not died down. And she is also catching up another drama. But everybody is wired differently. She is an activist, no doubt, but you will have to know how to combine the two. There are things, activities will not give you.
Okay. All right. So because just for me to put out these very questions out there too, because with the way things are now, another question should be, if she's not part of this very committee, doesn't it owe her any explanation on why she's not a member because she's from North Central? And then, was there any criteria or criterion used in selecting those who are members of the committee? Then the committee she enjoys, is she part of those committees because she's from those areas and what have you? So, plenty of questions that need to be answered.
And also, it's important because we know very well that those who would also want to know if she's a member of any committee. Yes, she is a member of different committee on mines and steel development, the drama we saw the other day. She's a member of Senate Committee on, I think, before now, I think she was a former member of that very North Central Committee, but for whatever reason, she was removed. I think it followed the controversy that was generated during the time she had problem with the Senate President. And remember, the Senate President has the prerogative to appoint people into any committee. So she's also a member of Committee on Diaspora and Non-Governmental Organizations. And These are the major committees I'm aware she is from. But she is not member of the Senate Committee on North Central Development Commission, despite being from the North Central Zone, which is Kogi State. She's not officially listed as a member.
Okay, so Tony, the last thing I'm going to raise now before we get to the headlines is this. Anybody who has been active following, if you do read columns very well, or feature stories on newspapers, maybe you might have seen a report which was published first. That was on December 27, 2025. It was titled, How Local Grinding Machines Lace Food with Deadly Metals. That was the very first time this report was published last year. Then, about a week ago, precisely on February 11, another report says, Toxic food, time to clean up Nigeria's grinders. Now, if you go through these very reports, fear might grip you. They're saying that all these local grinders we do see in the market, tomatoes and what have you not, those ones that just put your is engine driven, just put your petrol and then it begins to grind. They say that Narife somehow leaves particles of metal and aluminium in food. I don't know if you have seen that report. And people are, since yesterday and now, I've been seeing it on different platforms. People are circulating that.
Well, I have seen the same thing, but one thing I have always said: once we see anything, we must subject it to not just interrogation or examination or findings to find out more about the whole thing. Social media has come to stay, no doubt, but we must at the same time try to seep what we see on social media. So on that very report you talked about, I've seen many reports on that where it was alleged that the local grinding machines used in market and home for processing foods like peppers, tomatoes, onions, beans, maize, melon, seed, and grain, so many things. They are often contaminated with heavy metals due to wear and tear on their metallic disc or blades. And these machines are typically diesel or fuel powered or even electric in some places, locally fabricated from materials like iron or steel or poorly maintained, leading to metal particles leaching into the food during grinding. I saw one of the reports on Punch, and we are told that this issue is widespread in urban areas like Lagos, where high traffic and industrial pollution exacerbate contamination level, exceeding World Health Organization and Food and Agriculture Organization FAO safety standard. So I've seen some of these, but are we doing anything? Do we have Ministry of Health that should be out for things like this and possibly bringing solutions? Now, if you look at the human rights, there are many. There was 2021, I think 2020 human rights assessment study. It was published in the journals of the Chemical Society of Nigeria, and they researched, analyzed foodstuffs like beans, maize, soya beans, wheat, and so many of them. Analyze it with where these foods are processed with diesel-powered metallic disc. So we look at the lead, the chromium, and even the study calculated the health risk indices. It was something that one would not want to behold.
Okay, so Tony, the very first time I saw this report was a food vendor that I do follow. She talked about how she went into food processing, how she was using, electric blender to do her blending. But by the time her business was growing, she decided to be, she now decided to begin to use the locally made one. But normally what she does is that after grinding, she goes to test. So it was after she tested the one she used locally made grinders to process that she found out that there was some particles of metal in that. And that was how she stopped. And she made a call that agencies in charge should help in doing this research. Because by the virtue of the fact that we are beginning to see this now circulating again, agencies like NAFDAC, you talk about even universities who are into agriculture, Even National Biotechnology Development Agency, Federal Institute of Industrial Research, all of them, they have to get into these things. So let's perhaps do this very research. Let's find out if there's any atom of truth in this, or people are just trying to, go wide with their imaginations and what have you not.
Just like I said earlier on, we have had studies, we have had a lot of research on this, and we are told that there are different diseases that this metal contamination, we've talked about lead, we have talked about chromium, we have not talked about nickel and also cadmium. We are told in that research, I've read some of this research, we are told that there is neurological effect, that lead and cadmium can cause cognitive impairments, headache. In severe cases, we are also told about cancer risk, that chromium and nickel are carcinogenic. Long-term exposure could increase chances of lung, liver, and other cancers. And we also told about reproductive and developmental issues, that cadmium affects fertility, that pregnant women face risks of low birth, and so many of things like that. We also told that, these research are there, but I'm concerned to find out whether these things are also practiced in United States of America, UK, Germany. But I discovered that common methods there that where households and small-scale food prep really rely on large, they share their, they have their own way in doing those things, as against what we have in Nigeria. They use electric blenders and food processors. That's what is being used in some of these countries. They have faced metallic grinding machines. But here is a poverty, would I say capital of the world? Or poverty near capital of the world. Other countries have phased out these metallic grinding machines. They are using food processors, electric blenders, and also dedicated electric spice or coffee grinders. They are modern tools. So it's not about to find out what could this be, if it is true or if it is not true. There was Punch editorial. I don't know when that editorial, I think it was sometimes around, if I can recall, it's one of the February editorial, where they called for cleaning up of Nigerians' grinders, citing contamination from industrial areas and urging government intervention. And I also talk about, I cited a report in January on some of the national dailies where they detailed how unregulated grinding machines slowly pipe poison into food. So we have to do something urgent. But you look around, many households cannot afford electric blenders, food processors. Even if they can afford it, where do they see the electricity? Where can they also have these things done? If you talk about those who are having it or doing it in a commercial way, can we also regulate them? These are measures, but for me, I think the best thing we can do now is to see what we can do to regulate those who are doing this in commercial ways.
Or if there's a way we can phase out the metallic one, move into, because from what I gathered, if we are using stainless steel to do the construction, it reduces it to the barest minimum.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so we're going to switch gears now to look at the headlines we have on the papers this very morning. Stay with us.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, you're listening to The Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. It's 9:45 a.m. What we gave you before was just the teasers on today's program. So for now, we're going to get into the headlines as they are captured by various newspapers. My name is Franklin Ebekandan with Tony Sambeki this very morning on the program. We begin with the headlines we have on the Nation newspaper. And the big story there says El Rufai faces 2-year jail for alleged cybercrime offenses. It has a writer that says DSS files charges ex-minister detained hours after grilling. And the headline says Fintiri, Tinubu's bold reforms, free funds for development. Adamawa stands still for president. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was in Adamawa yesterday where he commissioned some projects and he extolled what he called the achievements of the Adamawa State Governor. He also praised Nuhu Rebadu, who is also from that very state. And from that very visit, people were trying to raise up speculation that the defection of Adamawa State Governor to the APC might be imminent. Another story says uncertainty over a conference committee on Electoral Act Amendment Bill. That story can be found on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. Nigeria firm TGI sees deal with Indian group RCPL. That story can be found on page 2. General Musa explains presence of U.S. military DHQ 100 troops in Bauchi. That story is on page 3. Inflation eases to 15.10%. The story is on page 7. Arrested insurgent found with 37 million naira cash. That story is on page 5. NROS deepens e-invoicing. The story is on page 7 of the Nation newspaper. Another headline says Governor Bibelo presents construction equipment to 18 councils. That story can be found on page 55 of the Nation newspaper. So those were the headlines on the front page of the Nation. So we get over to Vanguard now. The big story says Electoral Act hide and seek game in Abuja as reps avoid joint meeting. That story can be found on page 5. It has plenty of riders, which I won't go through now to mention the one after the other. And that story says EFCC quizzes El Rufai over alleged 432 billion naira fraud. That story can be found on page 7 of Vanguard newspaper. 3 South Africans charged over murder of Nigerian boat driver. That story is on page 6. If you go through that very story, it's quite a sad one, and it tells us to become very, very careful and circumspect when it comes to issue of Uber, because these very people, 3 of them conspired and used a phone number not registered to, book a ride with this very Uber driver. And when he came, one person entered his Uber, and 2 used another vehicle to trail him. When they got to a lonely place, they pounced on him and killed him, dumped his body inside that very vehicle. But thank God that there was a camera in the dashboard of the vehicle. So the dashboard that captured what they did, and that was how they were traced and arrested. So 3 of them were charged to court yesterday to answer for the crime that they committed. Another story says social media network X back online after global outage. The story is on page 8. 2027 NSCIA demands review of election timetable. That story can be found on page 26. Then the picture story is about Tinubu Commission's project in Adamawa. You see the governor of Adamawa and the president on that very picture story. Another story says 3.9 million IDPs. FG woos private sector for durable solutions. That story is on page 9. And above the nameplate of the Vanguard, inflation rate eases marginally to 15.1% in January. The story is on page 19. And of course, we are celebrating that the inflation is easing down to 15.1, whereas in Ghana they're doing about between 5 to 6%. Then you look at this very headline that said visa fraud overstays by Nigerians may attract stricter scrutiny. US wants. Page 8. BUA's MOU with Abu Dhabi Port. May Group. Tinubu hails Nigeria UAE industrial breakthrough. 2027 political class leveraging chaos to undermine elections. Itodo. That's what is on page 4. Itodo is the ED of YAG Africa. So let's move over to the next paper, which is the Punch. Punch has the big story that says 432 billion naira probe. EFCC detains El Rufai, DSS on standby. That story is on page 2. It has some riders. Ex-governor grilled by EFCC as FG files charges over alleged NSA phone tapping. DSS reopens the Dieta case, seizes passport, summons sons for questioning. Rival protesters clash at EFCC headquarters in Abuja, Kaduna Assembly Complex. Another story says 2027 National Assembly January 16 for presidential poll suspends electoral bill harmonization. That story is on page 2. Kwara Niger map out joint counter-terror plans. The story is on page 7. 2027 Kano Central to APC. Kano Central to APC plan says Shetima. The story is on page 8. And I was only 20. Yesterday, the vice president was in Kano State to sympathize with those who lost their goods in the fire incident that happened at Singa Market. And at the end of the day, federal government donated 5 billion to the victims of the fire incident. And that same yesterday, there was a should I call it a welcome party for Governor Abba Yusuf into the APC. And people were asking, is it sensitive enough for the vice president to have hosted the two events on that same day? Then another story here says 65% of Nigerians demand lower interest rates as MPC convenes. Report. The story is on page 44. This one says court remands suspected killers of South Africa-based Nigerian student. Another one says FG to borrow 800 billion naira via February bond. The story is on page 44. Arrest made after two die on Lagos film set. The story is on page 5. This is another story where two persons who were involved in shooting a movie. I learned that after having a session, they went into a vehicle to rest, saying that they were going to come back, only for them to be found dead inside the vehicle hours later. Another story says food inflation falls to 14-year low. That story can be found on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. And over to Guardian. Guardian has some headlines. One of them says 2027 protesters storm National Assembly as debate on Electoral Act resumes. That story is on page 6. FCT poll, ADC berates Wike, only those who are in support of Tinubu are going to find their way in the election. 70% of Nigerians living with epilepsy untreated, says experts. Check page 7. Relief for Nigerians as food inflation eases to single digits after 10 years. It's on page 6. CSOs rally demand update due process in El Rufai's probes. The story is on page 9. Akwa Ibom Cross River Beaker over oil well control. That story is on page 6. And this one says Raps demand FG's 3-year financial statement on page 2. TGI Group partners ROCPL to offer quality FMCG products at affordable prices. The story is on page 47. Kwankwasia defectors APC adopt 60-40 formula in Kano. That story is on page 3. Rising insecurity heightens concerns in South-South. Check page 4 of The Guardian. And the last story says ISWAP commander killed in Borno as U.S. sanctions 8 Nigerians over links to Boko Haram cybercrime. That story is on page 3. And with that, we conclude the headlines we have on the paper this very morning. So next will be for us to look at the analysis. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Udala Radio, 104.7 FM.
Please listen to this important information on your good health. Do you know that many deaths nowadays are caused by ignorance on drug abuse? Do you know that many males and females now resort to the consumption of unhygienic concoctions for the treatment of various diseases? Do you know that some even take their lab results to traditional healers for interpretation? Now listen, abuse of scientific or traditional drug destroys the body system mechanism and it kills. Consumption of expired, adulterated, substandard and unpasteurized traditional herbal mixture could lead to health complications. So detoxification of the body and restoration of the functional organs is always necessary for your good health.
This message is sponsored by Anti-Drug Abuse Incorporated Headquarters, Annex Sunshine Hospital, number 4 Obanye Street, Onitsha, Anambra State, Nigeria. 08033206819.
Drug abuse is an enemy to your good health. Be warned.
Join Anti-Drug Abuse Health Education every Wednesday by 8:45 a.m. on Udala Radio 104.7 FM Onitsha.
From the commercial city of Onitsha comes Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, where authentic news and entertainment meet. Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, thank you for staying tuned to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. It's 4 minutes past 10 a.m. and you're listening to The Polity. My name is Franklin Beckham with Antonio Lisambeki, and now we have to get to the analysis. Don't forget that we're live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM, and I do tell you the time that you can also access us via our website, www.radioudala.com, and get there and see plenty of information. You can also listen live via the website. So, Tony, we'll begin with El Rufai. Yesterday, we were meant to talk about him a bit, but we didn't have enough time. So, this very morning, of course, he's in the news because of what happened last week. Don't forget that when he came back from Cairo, Egypt last week, there was an attempt to arrest him at the airport, but by the help of those who were around, the officers that came couldn't arrest him, but they were able to make away with his international passport. After that, El Rufai went to television saying that he knew the person who ordered his arrest, and he fingered the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu. And when he was questioned, he said they had to, tap his phone. That somebody tapped his phone, and he told him that El Rufai, that Ribadu ordered his arrest. But before then, he had a pending invitation from the EFCC for a case which has been pending since he left office. Don't forget that Kaduna State House Assembly had some time ago, that was in 2024, accused him of siphoning over 400 billion naira, which he took in loan on behalf of the state, but that money was not used to execute any project. And that case has been linked for a long time. But EFCC invited him to come and answer questions in respect to that. So yesterday being Monday, he was at the EFCC office to answer that very question. And when he was going, there were two protesters, one for him and one against him. We also learned that some protests also happened in Kaduna State Assembly complex in respect to that same invitation given to him by the EFCC. Then that same yesterday, while he was at the FCC, federal government filed a case against him in respect to what he said on TV, where he claimed that they tapped the phone of NSA. So somebody can say plenty he has at hand now to deal with. So looking at the first case, which is the case he has with EFCC over the money that was said to have been siphoned while he was the governor of Kaduna State. And do you see El Rufai wriggling his way out of the situation he has found himself in now?
Well, it's a dicey one. There's no doubt. We know very well the kind of person El Rufai is, and there are different comments, different analyses people have put together. Some are saying that El Rufai is acting up. He's using this as a bait to bring out some things in his domain, in his cupboards. That's just for some people, those who believe that El Rufai is a table shaker. El Rufai can steer the honest nest. It can cause trouble. It can cause any form of disinfection. Well, whichever way. And recall, he is a wounded lion. El Rufai was on his own. He felt being used and dumped. That agony has not left him. He was with Mr. President when he was the candidate of APC at Chatham House. He was one of those that answered questions. But all of a sudden, those who were with Mr. President were all given appointment except El Rufai. He was denied appointment using security records of the SSX. But he felt that he has come out in the open to say that it was the making of the president not to appoint him, that he used DSS as a cover for his non-appointment. Since then, things have not been the same. The center can no longer hold. And I guess Mr. President was warned about El Rufai, that he cannot be trusted. That he cannot be trusted. El Rufai once confessed that never was he friend with Mr. President. He had not been a friend with Mr. President then, and even now, he's not even his friend. I recall when the then Minister of Interior, who is now the National Secretary of ADC, former governor of Osun State, when he was there, where he pushed El-Rufai to accept President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but El-Rufai was very skeptical, was reluctant. But now, he has been used. I wouldn't say dumped, but he was disappointed based on the developing political scenarios. He is trying to fight back. He is trying to do so. He has, first and foremost, the way he joined SDP, if you can recall. And he went into SDP to use SDP to steer the controversy he's looking for now. SDP was able to tame him. He left SDP, moved to ADC. And now he's in ADC. He felt that he will prevent the president from being re-elected. I listened to one of the clips dropped by some social media users where he said that whoever he gets into a fight with will either drop dead or he will drop dead. That people should go and ask Yaradua. I saw the clip. I listened to the video. That tells you a lot. Probably he got into fisticuff. He got into political battle with Yaradua, late President Yaradua. And he is trying to make points using that people should go and ask Yaradua. But outside that, he celebrated his 66th year birthday yesterday. I recall that he was born the same year with Nuhu Ribadu. Both of them were once friends. Nuhu Ribadu, the National Security Advisor, and El-Rufai. They were introduced to Obasanjo by Atiku Abubakar. Atiku Abubakar brought these two men to Obasanjo when Obasanjo was president and Atiku Abubakar was the vice president. When he brought both of them, El-Rufai served as the FCT minister. Nuhu Ribadu served as the pioneer chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. They were on the same political page over time. But guess what? Politics is a game of interest and not a game of emotion, and that is exactly what is playing out. If you look around, recall that he said in that interview that it was the call made by Nuhu Ribadu to get him arrested. That he was the one that made the call. That he was with the governor of Kaduna State, Uba Sani, and security chiefs. And they all planned to get him arrested. That he had a conversation. In fact, the conversation was stopped. When he was asked, what are you trying to say? He said, yes, it was stopped. That the government used to listen to people's conversations. So there is nothing wrong if they listen to their conversations. They have a way of doing their own things. In all of this, we are seeing a new political drama that will be unfolding. El-Rufai has been charged by the government.
So Tony, are you saying that El-Rufai possibly laid the bait for the government and the government fell for it?
Somehow, because if you look at it, he didn't make mistake and he did not in any way retract whatever statement he made. There was a prior invitation from EFCC even when he traveled to Cairo. So he had decided before then that he would honor such invitation. He said it, that he would use that at his birthday, whatever, 66th birthday. That will be in his office, the EFCC office, to celebrate his 66th year birthday. But the DSS wanted to abduct him at the airport, that they were mobilized by Nuhu Ribadu. They were about 50. And even before then, he had intel. So it is important to know why the crowd surfaced at that airport. Maybe he may have made a call, and the crowd prevented the DSS from arresting him. And even when one of his aides, they wanted to seize his passport, he rejected. He refused them seizing his passport. So one of his aides took the passport from him to protect it more. But EFCC beat up the aide, black and blue, forcefully took away the passport from the aide, and that was how they are in possession of his passport. What I see going on is purely politics. There is no doubt about this. But the young man would not let, wouldn't be young man anyway, El-Rufai will not let go. He is fighting back.
So, Tony, let's take them one by one. The case he has with the EFCC is in connection to what happened when he was the governor of Kaduna State, where they said over 430 billion was siphoned, according to the State Assembly, based on their report which they put out, because they investigated him. They said this money was borrowed and was meant to be used for projects in Kaduna State, but it was never meant to be. Rather, the money was siphoned, and they filed a petition to the EFCC. And the EFCC took like a 1 year thereabout to investigate him, and now they said it's time to bring him in to deepen the investigation. That's number one. Then the other one now is what he said on that television program. So, Tony, for a private person to have confessed that they tapped the phone of the NSA, whether he was boasting or it happened, how does it place before the law?
Well, I will explain that. I will explain that very well. The confession he made or the admission he made during the interview he had with the Arise television and the implication in law, I'm going to come back to that. But I'm just trying to let you know the friendship he had with Ribadu. Both of them, just like I said earlier on, they were friends, but they had their first fallout. That was in around 2010. People don't even know this. Around 2010. Both of them fought Yaradua. Two of them joined to fight Yaradua. Because after Yaradua's 2007 election, Obasanjo had penciled them down for influential positions. In fact, El-Rufai was to be the Minister of Energy, and Ribadu was to be appointed by Yaradua as Inspector General of Police. But they were sidelined as Yaradua reversed Obasanjo guidelines. Both of them became fierce critics. Both of them became fierce critics of Yaradua. If you go by, I just like bringing out certain memory for us to understand what is playing out. And they fought Yaradua in a way, I wouldn't say Yaradua did not survive. In all of this, I recall when Ribadu became the presidential candidate of ACN in 2011 presidential election. That was the first time Nuhu Ribadu felt betrayed by Ribadu. Why? Because Ribadu did not consult him. He teamed up with Tinubu because Tinubu unilaterally made Ribadu the presidential candidate of ACN.
So you're saying El-Rufai felt betrayed?
He felt betrayed.
Okay.
El-Rufai felt betrayed. Both of them, you don't understand how both of them were together. I'm talking about Nuhu Ribadu, the current National Security Advisor, and El-Rufai, Malam El-Rufai. Both worked for Obasanjo. They were introduced by Atiku, and remember they still fought Atiku. Who brought them to Obasanjo? When Atiku had issues with Obasanjo, they sided with Obasanjo. And I'm just telling you how they also worked to ensure that Yaradua was enthroned as president, because they supported Obasanjo to see to the enthronement of Yaradua. But Yaradua did not follow the guidelines. The guidelines were that El-Rufai be made Inspector General of Police because he was too in police as at that time.
You say Ribadu or El-Rufai?
Sorry, Ribadu was to be made the Inspector General of Police, and El-Rufai was to be made Minister of Energy. But Yaradua did not follow that script, and that was why they fought him. They fought him. Look at the video or clip I told you about where El-Rufai challenged everybody to go and look and watch what happened to Yaradua. That is, by the way. Now, in 2011, because of Nuhu Ribadu's closeness with Tinubu, El-Rufai felt very uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable, until Tinubu made Ribadu the candidate of ACN. When that happened, El-Rufai started distancing himself, detaching himself from Nuhu Ribadu, his bosom friend. And we saw what happened, how El-Rufai won the Kaduna governorship under APC. Ribadu defected to the PDP for the Adamawa governorship, but failed to secure the ticket. The first time both of them were at different political parties. We saw what happened in 2019. El-Rufai offered to help Ribadu secure a Senate seat. This El-Rufai offered to help Ribadu to secure a Senate seat. But Ribadu chose to run for Adamawa governor instead. But El-Rufai said, you know what? Did not back his governorship bid. I'm just trying to tell you the relationship that existed between both of them. In 2023, El-Rufai was an emergency supporter of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He was co-opted into the whole arrangement. Just like I said earlier on, he had a close friend that brought him into that. But we saw what happened. Tinubu did not use him. So people were wondering, could he go on to do to Tinubu what he did to Yar'Adua? The same problem he suffered under Yar'Adua is the same problem he's suffering under Tinubu. He helped Yar'Adua to become president. Yar'Adua did not appoint him to anything, and he decided to fight him. The same thing, Tinubu helped him to become president. Tinubu did not appoint him, and he's fighting Tinubu right now. But this time around, Tinubu is using his old friend to wage the war, and the person is Manam Nuhu Ribadu. You asked a very important question. Let's forget about other development that played out very quickly. You asked a very important question. The confession he made before the public about the wiretapping, listening to the conversation, and other things, the implication and the law. If you ask me, I would say that this admission, these confessions may not be enough to get him convicted. Yes. Because if you go by the provisions of the Evidence Act of 2011, especially Section 20 down to Section 29, that talks about admissions and confessions, such statements may be used, or if a statement is made by an accused person, it can be used in court. But one thing we must also understand is that the Nigerian courts have developed a strong judicial rule that a confession or admission should be tested with other evidence before conviction, especially where it was made outside formal investigation. He made that very statement outside formal investigation. So we have seen Nigerian courts developing this strong rule that it must be tested with other evidence. It must be collaborated. It must be corroborated with other evidence before conviction can be made. That it is not even enough. That sometimes some of these things can be made as a result of one political tussle or the other, or even exaggerated, that it has to be investigated, it has to be corroborated, it has to be supported for conviction to happen. The question is, would EFCC or the DSS find such corroboration, find such other evidence to test with the one that can be used in court, the confession El-Rufai made, and all that? But remember, Section 29 of the Evidence Act says that confession is only admissible if it was made voluntarily, not obtained through threat, inducement, oppression, which also qualifies the one El-Rufai made during that interview. But if you also look at the weight of public admission, there is always this thought that it could also be made within political context. So the need for another evidence to test it, to corroborate it, to support it before conviction can be made. You cannot rule out politics in all of this. I have listened to so many commentators saying that, oh, it's enough, that admission, that confession is enough to get him convicted based on the charges the Nigerian government has charged him for. If you look at count one,
Tony, if you look at this issue of tapping someone's phone without any legal authority from the court, it could fall within three categories. One could be unlawful interception of communication. It can as well amount to invasion of privacy. It can also amount to cybercrime related offenses. And we know that this very cybercrime act is like a web that traps every kind of insect.
Yeah.
And if you look at the charges against him, most of them are centered on this cybercrime act. So people are now looking at it, that are trying to say whether government will now find a good ground upon which to jail El-Rufai, even if it's just for 1 year or 2 years.
Well, remember, the government must prove that the interception actually happened, they must prove that the interception, yes, he had made that very confession during that interview. He has made it. But it must be proved beyond reasonable doubt that public admittance is not enough to get him convicted. I'm talking about law here now.
Now, do you think he has his hands full now? Because one, he has a case with the FCC, he has a case with the ICPC, he now has a case against federal government on the alleged tapping of the phone of the NSA. He also has a case now, which is being opened by DSS, on the disappearance of Daddy Yatta. Then he will actually have another case on the allegation he made, saying that the NSA imported poisonous substance into the country for DSS.
Well, he has a dossier, no doubt. He has opened the cankerworm and he's ready for it. Is he prepared? He's prepared for all this. There were other statements he made in the past, and these statements may be revisited. Even the one where he said the foreign nationals that intervene in our elections will go home in body bags. Some of his statements in the past are being revisited because his book is now being opened. He orchestrated it. He forced government to open his own page. And government says, oh, you know what, since you have forced us to do this, we have to do it. But how quick would government be able to do it? Because you may not send a wrong impression that you are trying to malign opposition. He sees himself as a force of the opposition. And some of these things are being seen to be political. People have asked question, why now? So government has to be very careful how to handle digs. If you keep him detained for a long time, it will spell a lot of impressions out there. Because some of these cases, they are all bailable. They are all bailable. Even the one where he made the very statement, the cybercrime, if you look at that one, the other one has a minimum conviction term of about 2 years or thereabouts. And just like I said earlier on, it has to be proved. It's not just by mere public admittance. If you talk about the Daddy Yatta, you must prove it. The question is, the prosecution, do they have material to get some of these things proved? If you arraign him in court, he will apply for bail. Before you know it, he will perfect his bail conditions, you'll be out. So it's not going to be like that of MFLA. You know, MFLA has so many things around him that once he's out of this, he's also rearrested. You may see that, but El-Rufai, one thing for sure is, once he's coming out from EFCC, the DSS may get him rearrested. He will go there, apply for bail. Once he comes out from DSS, he may be rearrested by ICPC. But I guess DSS, the EFCC seems to have taken the prosecutorial role, the one the ICPC was actually asking for because of the Kaduna State House of Assembly probe that resulted in alleged mismanagement or laundering of about over 400 and something billion. So it was something the House related to the ICPC, but EFCC seems to be quick to take over that very case because it falls within their purview. That is one. And then the DSS, that of Daddy Yatta, I saw the son yesterday, or was it not yesterday? No, it wasn't yesterday. Yesterday, his post was all about the father's birthday. But a post before that, he was asking when the Daddy Yatta was making false allegations, posting so many videos, false claims that can also cause breakdown of law and order, that people that are now backing Daddy Yatta, where we are there. But the case is up for anybody to take up. My concern is, it's not about the euphoria, it's not about the noise this thing is generating. I have to ask even the EFCC. Let's leave the one of EFCC because they have got some documents from Kaduna State House of Assembly. But I'm talking about the one of DSS. Do they have what it takes to prosecute, to get El-Rufai convicted based on such public confession? And just like I said, it must be proven. The confession alone is not enough to get him convicted. I've cited the Evidence Act, Section 20, even that of to 29. Some of these things well stated. I looked at the cybercrime, the ones that the charges. I saw the charges the way they were, read out yesterday. Before, I think before they were read out yesterday, in Section 131 of the Nigerian Communication Act. They also talked about the Section 227B of the Cybercrime Amendment Act. Some of the counts they cited yesterday.
Some persons believe that in the case of Daddy Yatta, maybe that the case might go either way, because from what he said on TV, he spoke as if he knew something linking the incident to former governor of Kano State, Umar Ganduje, because he made some statements that were suggestive. So by the time they get to the court, of course, we expect each of the parties to present whatever they have to further their case. Now let's move over to what happened yesterday at National Assembly. Of course, the Joint Committee of National Assembly was supposed to meet yesterday for harmonization of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, but that was suspended or put on hold because the National Assembly wants to deal with what they feel is like the fly, perch on the scrotum. They just want to deal with what is considered the most pressing thing about the timetable for the 2027 general election. Yesterday we talked about it, and a date was bandied. And today, this very morning, if you look at the papers, they are now bandying that it appears INEC and the National Assembly has come to a reasonable agreement that January 16, 2027 could be the better date for the 2027 presidential election. And then after the January 16, then another day would now be for the
January 30.
Yes, would now be for the governorship election, and then for the state assembly elections. So this very time, if eventually it becomes something valid, how does it place, given the sentiment we expressed yesterday, the Muslim versus the Christian sentiment?
January 16, many people may not have returned home from Christmas celebration. It's a factor we must look into. We know very well that people travel far and wide for Christmas and New Year celebration. And we are talking about having the election on January 16. Some may not have come back, and if that be the case, it will also affect many people. You must vote where you are registered. You cannot just vote anywhere. We don't have such arrangements.
It might favor some of them. So some persons who registered at their country home, it might be opportunity to go for Christmas, stay home, do their voting before you go back, get better.
But there are those who may not have registered at their country home. You also ask, would it also give them the opportunity to return in time for the election proper? Well, I think that's the only possible date. March is automatically out, April automatically out, January. But there will be need for amendment of Section 28, because Section 28 of the Electoral Act stipulates that the election timetable must be announced not later than 360 days. Not later than 360 days. So what it means that if you have it now, you did not follow that very law properly. The law says you must announce it in a simple way before 360 days to the election. If you take it to January 16, when did we have the announcement? February. So it was not in conformity with the provisions of Section 28 of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended. The election, if they finally end up at that very date, they need to amend that very provision of the Electoral Act to accommodate that the election can also be announced even. It won't be this time around, not later than. It will be announced. They have to shift the 360 days. They may have made calculation or put that place to be so open. There will be need for amendment of the Electoral Act 2022 if they are to go by this, or they can also include it in their current Electoral Act amendment so that it will not be challenged in court. If they announce January 16, many people will trudge to court to challenge such announcement because it does not in any way fall within the provisions of Section 28. So INEC could put themselves into trouble. The only way they can find or get themselves out of this mess will be where they amend the Electoral Act and then come back to that very date.
So perhaps by the time the National Assembly reconvenes today, because they're going to reconvene today, it might be what could be on the front burner, what they might debate and see how they can get around it. So let's quickly talk about the confirmation that there are U.S. troops in Nigeria, about 100 of them, and they said they are coming with a whole lot. They're going to offer intelligence bring technology and what have you not. So, Tony, for us, Nigeria, because we have seen different kinds of attack by terrorists, bandits, on whatever name you call it. We have seen it from every quarter. If it's not in Kwara State, if it's in Niger State, if it's not in Niger State, it's in Plateau or in Benue or even in some other southern state. And we're asking, when would this be over? Now, do you see the coming of the U.S. troop bringing any respite in the coming days?
Well, it will be too hasty for me to say I'm going to see a respite. We know how the terrorists, how Hydra-headed they have formed. They are complex, they are amorphous in every sense. I've listened to Christopher Musa, the Minister of Defense, and where he said that these people will not engage in combat operations. What that means that they will not be fighting with the terrorists or interfacing with them. They will be playing technical roles, support role, advisory role. That's what he made us to understand, that these are roles these people will be playing. We will be expecting another contingent. We have got the first contingent, about 100 of them. It's expected that another contingent will come. They would help in information gathering, processing, and also intelligence sharing. These are some of the things we are told. But we are told that the Nigerian government invited them. US made it as a case that if you do not show support to this, it means that you are aiding and abetting terrorism. Ordinarily, we wouldn't have invited the US. It was necessitated by their insistence, and it becomes a way to show that we have nothing to hide. Let's not play damage control. We know that we have not been able to do this. And recall, we are one of those that called for US assistance many time ago. Many Nigerians would even want US to engage in combat operations. Many Nigerians. These days, insurgency war is not won by using AK-47 and mobilize and start shooting. You know, most countries don't fight wars with AK-47 again. They don't. It's a cake. You are going for combat operation. The idea of AK-47 is just to defend just where you are, even to be hit by enemy, for you to use it to protect yourself. Why you see them with such rifles when they are moving on the ground, on the surface, and the idea is to any nearby enemy around for you to clear the person away. So they have developed these tactics of using area battle, unmanned drone, using drones, using missile, raids. These are ways of fighting insurgency. But what I've seen so far in our own case is where some troops will be deployed either for one operation or the other. They will be equipped with AK-47. They will be in armored personnel carrier. They will be moving around. It's a cake. It's a cake. And you expect to win this war with such kind of approach, we must invest heavily on unmanned area vehicles. We must invest heavily on missiles, even ballistic ones. We must invest heavily. These things are capital intensive. There's no doubt. But these are ways to win this. I don't know if the US will support Nigeria in these areas. We must ensure we go area and minimize collateral damages that could also come as a result of that.
Okay, so the defense headquarters said the troops are going to provide technical support and intelligence sharing to help target and defeat the terrorist organizations. And the one thing he also confirmed is that the U.S. sent associated equipment to support this very mission. And from what we gathered, they didn't land in Borno State. They're not there. Rather, they are based in Bauchi. From there, the operations are going to be coordinated. So this is what we know now regarding this. When that story came towards the end of last week, it was like an unconfirmed report, but now it's been confirmed by defense headquarters. So let's see how this collaboration is going to bring a change in this fight against insurgency, the banditry, and what have you not in different parts of the country, especially in the north central and northeast. So let's go for this very commercial break. After it will be now time for you to join the conversations on 0803 221 6973 or 0803 827 6694.
Quality bread. Wendy's bread. For your family breakfast. Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread. Mama, papa, they like Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread. Even children, they like Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread. You get the better tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread. Wendy's your bachichoma. Wendy's bread.
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza, Atani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Attention job seekers in Oba and environs. Trends Lounge, Saloon and Gym is hiring. We are urgently recruiting waitresses, hairstylists, barbers, bartenders, supervisors, cleaners, spa and massage therapists. Interested applicants should submit their CVs at Trends Lounge, number 5, Zahil Street, New World Estate, opposite Sinachi Hotel, Oba, Anambra State, or call 081-0763-1901. Accommodation is available. Trends Lounge Oba, where style, comfort, and opportunity meet. Signed, Management.
When you think of roofing, think of strength. When you think of durability, think of beauty. And when you think of all three combined, think Best Aluminium MFG Limited. At Best Aluminium, we don't just manufacture roofing sheets. We create protection, comfort, and style for your home and business. Whether you're building from scratch or repairing an old roof, we have exactly what you need. Our products include stone-coated roofing sheets, aluminum roofing sheets, and colored roofing sheets. But that's not all. We also offer residential and commercial roofing services, roof repairs, gutters, emergency roofing services, and even durable cookwares that bring quality to your kitchen. Visit us today at 30/32 Anyika Street, Awada Obosi, Anambra State, or call us right now on 0806-416-2374 or 0706-059-6203.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, thank you for being there. You are listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM, and this is The Polity. My name is Franklin Ebekanda with the journalist Mbeki on today's conversation. We can take your calls now on 0803 221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Good morning.
Good morning, Franklin.
Yes, you're welcome on board.
Good morning, my chief speaker, Tony Olifambiki.
You're welcome.
Yes. The voice of Honorable President Mayor Okumejesi Okulola Umezineke. I would not know. Can I go on?
Yes, go on.
Every morning when I wake up to listen to the radio on this platform, it gladdens my heart. But the stories that come up make me feel angry. See, these people now that are taking Badu, Elufai, where are them since? Did they not know that both the time that he was accused of that borrowing that money, which was not used, and they swept it into the carpet? But now, he has gone against the wish of the APC and the Tinubu government. Now they are using his friend Lubadu to tell him. What does this portray? That means that we are not fighting corruption in this country. We are just witch hunting. Anybody that does not follow the rule will go to jail, or will be in for that. Look at all the embezzlement. Everybody knows what El-Rufai did when he was governor. How he embezzled the Kano State money. But now, nobody did anything about that. until they see that he is no more favorable to the leading party. They are now trying to jail him. Well, this is an eye-opener to the people that love Nigeria. I want to tell Nigeria, until we wake up from our slumber and start to do the needful, if we don't tackle this issue, look at the National High Assembly now. They are now trying a way, the committee that was placed to harmonize, they are trying to dodge, not to give us a credible way to vote, and our vote will count just for 2027. I've said it before. Mark my word, Nnamdi Kanu will be released before that election. This is in order to possible to win. Secondly, you will see this law. They must find a way to bend it in order to measure up so that those people that are there, the corrupt people, will still remain in office. And Nigeria will be getting worse and worse and worse.
All right, thank you,
so I want to advise us now, please and please, let us forget about ethnic and religious differences and come out and vote a credible person and make sure that we fight our right for our vote to count.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ide. Thank you for joining. Hello, good morning. Okay, try again. 0803-221-6973 and 0803-827-6694. Good morning. Hello.
Dr. Dem Tony Odena, good morning.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Franklin Ebuka, you're blessed. Good morning.
Good morning, go on, sir.
I am Great Dim, Isapatego, cruising the airwaves from my own town, Osimogu.
Okay.
America are coming to fight for Nigeria. Did they ever think well about it before engaging in such agreement with Nigeria? So America knows Nigeria as a country that will place agreement. I wonder what they are here for. The only thing America should do is to come and recolonize Nigeria. Because Nigeria has not started. Nigeria has turned into a graveyard for people. Killer entity. Now, we are hearing Ribadu, imported, colorless, allegedly colorless, odorless, which the chemical is just like water. Only to be 2 drops will be dropped into this account water and you drink it, the person is off. What a wicked country. I don't know the reason why America has chosen this path. They have tried it before on how to get these kidnappers, only for the Nigerian government, Nigerian soldiers to go and reveal to the terrorists and the Walmart before America could come. And America ran away. Now they want to go into agreement with Nigeria. Okay, I wish them good luck. Away from that, Nigeria is not, they cannot survive for what they are doing. Their type of politics is very dangerous. Right. Negatively dangerous. The way they play politics. El-Rufai today, at one time, El-Rufai was Uhuru. We were using him. Rubada is now banking up, doing everything against El-Rufai. Tomorrow it will be, Ribadu. This is Nigeria. I know laws and death do not know anything.
All right, thank you. Thank you for lending your voice. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
My name is Sunday. Call from abroad.
Sunday, go on.
US to come and help us in Nigeria. Please, I want to ask a question. I know Nigeria, they supply Nigeria to Ghana. But this of H helicopter, who they told us that it was sophisticated helicopter, did they supply it to Nigeria through? If it's yes, where are they? And these terrorists, these are attacking villages that they can stay 10 hours and nobody will come there. But even the HK, if at all, those HK helicopters, who they told us that it's sophisticated, I know it's about $900 million if I not make mistake. That is how what Nigeria said. But at the time, they say no, they will not supply again. I want to know, did they supply it? And if it's yes, where is it?
people can stay in the bush for 10 hours, killing people. Just a helicopter will not come up. And they're not giving them information. That's why I still believe they did not supply that. At times, Nigeria will be lined up. And I will still remain there. Without state police. I don't know. Even federal government, we don't hear it from them again. That's state police. Because one time ago, when Trump speaks, going around state police, state police. Now they are not talking politics, not even state police. Please, they should find ways, create state police to fight this monster. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Sunday from Ecuador. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Yeah, this is K teacher, the commercial driver that loves listening to Udala FM.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, I want to, good morning, my speaker.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Please, I want on the aspect of Ribado and his a friend, Rufai. In a nutshell, what I want to say is this. What is good for the gander is also good for the goose. All the allegations that have been leveled against it by the federal government, DSS, EFCC, and ICPC. Yes, I can see that there are some atoms of irregularities in what he said. He was not supposed to say some certain things. But the other way around, the person or the government is accusing of some things that are not supposed to be done, or some hidden secrets. They should also be investigated. So we shouldn't look at that from one side and leave the other side. So whatever is good for him to be prosecuted or taken to court, so wise. Also let it be transferred to the DSS and all those other schools of what wrongdoing. So I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for joining. The phone lines are 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. You can as well join us on our Facebook page. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Your name?
My name is Akamere.
Akamere, go on.
Yeah, I'm calling from Fegi.
Go on, sir.
My speaker, I'm grateful to you. Every morning I try to listen to your analysis, and I'm happy the way you are explaining things. See, I want to say something on Rufai. In fact, what I remember in the past administration of Buhari, Rufai was parading himself as if he was an emperor. So, but now he's receiving his own, back of the coin. And I know that is exactly what will happen to some of all these people who are just, trying to support this present administration. Someone like Nesonike. I know that this will be exactly what will happen to him, because if you serve Nigeria, you will go out shamefully. And I want to also to tell these American people who are here in this.
Okay, sorry about that. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello?
Yeah, hello, good morning. Your name?
Thank you. Monday Johnson. Mr. Speaker, Tony Becky, good morning.
You're welcome. It's good to have you, Honorable Monday Johnson.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, I want to know, because before we draw conclusion about Natasha not being included in that North Central Development Commission, we need to investigate. All the senators from that region, are they members of this commission? If yes, then we have to ask more questions. But if no, then we leave it at that. Then the word, what do you call that parliamentary jargon, which you use when you were making your analysis. Going by what has been happening, don't you think that when Natasha used that option to get what she wants, don't you think that this may pave way for this to start making
advances on her. Don't you think so? Because for her to have jettisoned that option of appropriating this, for her to have jettisoned that option and begin to go as this activist thing, don't you think that the reason is what could have happened if she had chosen that option? Because we need to make our analysis comprehensive, bringing the standard of getting things and also bringing in some of changes that may deter you from getting what you want even though you employ this standard. By bringing these two things together, we can make a very comprehensive analysis. So please, I want to know what you think about it. Then finally, I believe that Americans have made their statement that they are here to provide technical support and others. But what gives results that will make people to be impressed is the finishing. When we get up tomorrow and discover that most of these terrorists has been annihilated. But over the time, Nigeria have not succeeded in doing that. But if America provides this technical support, both intelligence and others, and at the end of the day, the foot soldiers could not achieve this finishing, you think that America will still stick in this agreement with Nigeria? Good morning.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, very soon we're going to begin to look at these very questions that we have. So Tony, maybe if we can quickly address the question which was raised by Monday just before I get to the post on our Facebook page.
All right. I think he asked a question if all the senators from the North Central Senatorial District, if they are members of the committee, that is the North Central Development Commission Committee. The answer is no. There are some senators from North Central Senatorial District who are not members of that very commission. When you talk about it in the Senate, I know very well that Abamoro, who is from Benue State, is not even a member of that very commission, and there are others. For the fact that you are not a member of the commission, the committee reserves the right to invite those who are from the area during such kind of things or do not. And then he asked another question. Why the issue of lobby and activism? The language, if you're going to National Assembly, anywhere in the world, the tool there is lobbying, not activism.
Okay, so I think at this point, so let's break this thing down because I think people are getting confused about this word lobbying.
Okay.
Because lobbying, to many people, have this wrong connotation. So when you talk about lobbying in parliamentary language, what does that mean?
Well, I think I have to break it down as you said, because when you're talking about parliament or National Assembly, we must understand the word lobbying. It might not really be what you think it is if you are to use it generally. Lobbying in parliament is a process where individual attempt to influence. If you're a senator, if you're a member of House of Representatives, you attempt to influence your fellow lawmakers to support, to oppose, to amend, or to introduce specific policies, programs, bills, legislation. You try as much as possible to influence your fellow lawmaker, either to support, either to oppose, either to amend, either to introduce, either to be a member of this or not to be a member. It is a legitimate and often essential part of democratic systems, allowing a senator to also go beyond, certain obstacles. The term lobbying originates from the historical practice of people gathering in the lobbies. I don't want to go deep into this. It's not that type of where you go and meet somebody, you say, Eka Roma, Eka Rosa, you try to, no. is a parliamentary language.
Okay, so
it is not. You don't go to the Senate.
Let's be practical now.
Okay.
Because this issue of Asugdo Ibo, people might become more confused. So this lobbying of a thing is like a plain language of trying to be friends with everybody, try to be in good books of everybody, try to tell somebody, oh, support this is my policy, I will also support your own policy in return. Is it something like this?
Exactly. If I'm a senator now, and there is something I want, you cannot be an island of your own, no matter how righteous you are. If you are the most righteous person, you need the support of others. She is not a member of that very committee, and possibly she has an input to make, coming from Kogi State, and possibly where issue of Ajokute still, or whatever is being discussed, and it interests her. Even if she wants to be a member of the committee, if she doesn't like to see the face of the Senate president, because she might not be in good, you might not be in good book with everybody, you may not be friends with anybody, but there are those who are close to Senate president that Senate president to listen to. You can also use the influence on those to talk to Senate president, so that they will see the need that you have an input. You have something very important, not just one, not just two. By the time Senate president sits, one member is talking to him, another member is talking to him, another member is talking to him. They're all talking to him about the need to include this person. He cannot say no. You use this approach, the need, and you be very straight, direct, practical. You are not going to lick anybody's face. No. That is lobbying. And if you want certain bill, for you to have a bill passed at the National Assembly, do you think you will do it alone?
Okay.
You will need the support of others.
Okay. That was something we used to do when we were in university.
Okay.
You know, in university, in our class, we were about 4 of us. None of us wanted to be course rep. But guess what? Anything that happens in the department, you must be the first to know, because before it happens, the course rep will call you and tell you, see what thing that happened, what do you think? And it boils down to the way you have been able to ingrain yourself into the system, being able to maintain friendship with everybody, and being able to roll.
You are now being more practical about this. What is activism? Because we are talking about lobbying. Let's also bring the other one I mentioned, activism. Activism is a populist tool used to have your way. Lobbying is a parliamentary tool used to have your way. One is parliamentary, the other one is populist. That you are trying to steer the people, not even where you are. And in activism, it's a case of we no go agree. We shut the door. You will not live there. And the way I say it, my people cannot be changed. My people cannot be disenfranchised. My people cannot be undermined. I'm here to represent my people. I'm here to serve my people. You cannot change that, and nothing will happen. We bring that. That is activism.
All right. So
that is not the tool.
Let me quickly run through some of the posts we have on our Facebook page, because we're out of time. Dr. Misima Olebra from Owerri, he says, so Mr. President said this and still wants to contest. Let his word be his bound now. We now know better and we do as he directed. For him to go on with solar in Nassau Rock signifies that he has failed woefully in providing electricity to Nigerians. Anthony Mera, thank you for watching. Also Francis Omagan Namani from Enugu State, thank you for also being there. Ikenga Mbo says, El Rufai stood firmly in 2023 election to make sure that the current administration is brought to office. But now he's the one being treated like this. There is a big lesson to learn about Nigeria's type of politics. And then Dandolas, okay, thank you for watching from our water. Master BJP says, my advice to Nigerian politicians is treat their opposition with fairness and transparency for younger generations to learn academically. It's easy to read history, but hard to create history, okay? I'm posted from Onitsha. Then Sunday Eagle says, I think we should be mindful of this lobbying of a thing. To me, it doesn't sound well, Here we are kicking against corruption, even sexual molestation, and at the same time, we are promoting what we call lobbying. When a lawmaker has to go into romance with a fellow lawmaker, okay, in order for his or her constituency project to be granted, then what do you expect thereafter? Of course, I think we've been able to.
We have dealt with it
to
because the person did not understand the word lobbying.
Then Mazungurie Chikwadoromusna says, for those protesting against the arrest of former Kaduna State Governor, don't they? Okay, you don't know what they are doing because they are indirectly legalizing public fund embezzlement. Please let him be allowed to answer his call from EFCC, posted from Udala Onitsha. Then any other person who posted, thank you for posting. So Tony, we are tough time, but I don't know if we'll have 1 minute. If we'll have 1 minute. Sunday, from a Pullover says, he asked the question, did the US actually supply Nigeria with Tucano jets?
There was a time they did, and they asked the question, if they did, where are these Tucano jets? And there was a time the Nigerian government under Buhari confirmed the arrival of Tucano jets. And when we talked about the deployment of these Tucano jets, they said that why they had not been deployed then was because it would cause collateral damages. If you can recall that very rhetoric as at that time. And we did not see the effect of the Tucano jet to eradicate these terrorists. It's a case to show that we are being soft on these terrorists. It's not about the jets do not come. That's why many Nigerians would want the US to engage in combat operations. It seems that those who have been commanding different operations seems to be very soft on these terrorists, seem not to be hard on them. Ihejurika, Azuki Ihejurika, he did 70 years, I think that was 2 days ago or thereabouts. He was so hard, but so many northern elites wrote to ICC, petitioned ICC against Ihejurika on genocide, saying that he wants to wipe out the young men in that domain because he was so hard, he was so concerned, he was so committed to eradicate Boko Haram. But they saw it as genocide. Over since then, Ihejurika left, we've seen soft approach being deployed on Boko Haram. And that was, for me, the reason the Tucano jets were not used as supposedly. Is a problem. It's a problem. Okay. So we need to do audit. The need for us to be accountable to the people. We must have several ministries, several operations, everything. Audit be conducted periodically to evaluate, to ascertain the state of things, to make informed decisions, to know the next line of actions. We need periodic audit in some of the things we do in this country.
All right, so on that very note, we end today's conversation, and we thank every one of you for joining. Tomorrow is another day, so stay with us. Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Once we leave, it's going to be music 11 to 12. 12 is going to be 12. It's going to be news at 12, and then by 12:25 is going to be Cherry Box. Good morning and thank you for listening. My name is Franklin Ebuka.
Before the bridges came, before the city stretched its arms to the sky, there was a voice carried by the great Niger, whispered in the winds that danced through the Obunike caves. A voice that told the stories of kings, traders, warriors, and dreamers. That voice still speaks. That voice is us. We are Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
The best radio station in the world.
You're listening to Udala Radio.
Is right here, right now.
The music just turns me on. Make me swim, make me harder, make me lose.